Good morning, good morning. I am so excited to have Team Parker Thatch on today. I absolutely love everything about them.
Hi
Hi,
guys!
guys.
Hello! How are you
Hi,
doing?
Irene. Hey,
Thank you
Matt.
so much for having us.
Before we get into it, do you guys want to share a little bit about you for anyone who doesn't know you?
Yeah, well, I'm Irene, and this is Matt and I are married, and we're partners, and we've been doing this for a long time, haven't we?
Almost 20 years, I think.
And Marissa's been with us for a very long time.
So long. I know.
I feel when we started the Instagram, we're like, oh, it's about product. But then when we started having this, like you said, like a group of friends that we started to meet through Instagram, it became more than that. It's our half an hour therapy every day where we just discuss what we're feeling.
Well, I think that's also our relationship with each other, like all of us, that we just, it's inevitable that we'll go off topic.
Yeah, it's really sort of behind the scenes in
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
We're sort of
It's so
inviting you
funny.
guys into our world where if we weren't on the camera, this is what we'd be talking about.
Before COVID, I was planning my next program in Big Sur. So I was reaching out to you guys if we could do like a welcome bag or something. Like I knew that I felt a connection to you guys, but I didn't know how to put it into action.
Yeah.
So it's so amazing that like this right here
I love
is
it.
where we can put it into action. So I'm so grateful. I think our country is facing such a critical time that I just want to talk about the current moment
Yes.
and what it's been like for you. And I'd really love to know your perspective and kind of what's been the most inspiring moment of either protestation or activism that's kind of caught you since the Black Lives Matter movement has come to the forefront.
For us, the most inspiring thing would be having the conversation, honestly.
I agree.
The most inspiring moment in what I've been seeing is just everybody, like we were talking about, showing their vulnerability. And I think that's a really critical first step in order to get to even having a conversation, honestly.
An honest conversation.
An honest conversation. And for us, what was so inspiring is we were discussing this the other day, was I think like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That Matt was out of the office, and Marissa and I had a conversation with one of our friends on Instagram. And she did write in and she was asking us about, it's good for you guys to verbalize what you feel about this movement, but what are you guys doing? And then for us, it was just that moment where we were like, well, can we talk to you? And I think it was a real moment of both sides just extending hands and just really being honest and like telling each other. It was just amazing, honestly.
It was like
chills.
We all, three of us, said it was a very like
I'm getting chills thinking about it now.
conversation. All of us came into it with just all the walls down, vulnerability, and our hands open.
And it was also just spur of the moment, like, hey, can I call you? And she's incredible. Her name is Catris. Like, she really just really told us how she felt, and then she also allowed for us to maybe ask questions and also extend ourselves in terms of, hey, you know what, we really feel strongly about this, but and made us think like, well, what are we going to do about this? And I think that's what has stuck with me since that moment.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I think about it every day.
One of my favorite quotes that we're going to actually use on our feed is vulnerability is not about winning. It's not about losing. It's about the ability to show up when you can't control the outcome.
Yes, that's right. And I think that's when it gets really scary. That's when you can't, and I think that's what we learned through our Instagram, just talking about, whatever we talk about every day is when it's safe and easy, I don't think you're growing. Like you're not actually growing. And I feel like in this last year doing this, and then you're so right through COVID, we were so fearful, we didn't know what we were getting into. So that was a very vulnerable moment. And then now with the Black Lives Matter movement and what's going on in our country, I think again we were at a moment where it's uncomfortable, and I think we have to get uncomfortable in order to grow.
I think we're meant.
Yes.
I think we're meant to be uncomfortable. I feel like we're in an awakening into birthing a new world. So you guys know what it's like to birth babies and birth an amazing brand. And it's like, I feel like we're all kind of in labor together.
I agree. And I feel like those who would, you know, turn a blind eye to this, they need to see this is where we're going. This is where the energy is moving. So I really do feel like like you said, let's open ourselves up to it.
And that's also interesting too, because we haven't been given a choice. We're all going through this.
Yeah.
And just like, I mean, to extend your metaphor of giving birth and parenting, we now have a choice of being good or bad parents.
I feel like this is something where it's like you're in the arena and you choose to fight or not. And you know what? Every day, I think this is something that you have to stay in the arena. This has to be top of mind where when you leave your home, you think about these things. And I think you need to have these talks with your kids so that they think about these things. Like, you know, like you said, we're so fortunate to live in this beautiful area that we live in, but sometimes you don't see what's going on, you know, 30 minutes away from you. It's much harder to be in the arena where you have to fight every day. You've got dirt on your face, and you know. But I feel like that's living. It's much easier to be in the stands and just watch, you know. But I think that doesn't move things forward. And I think with more people in the arena and more people fighting every day, I think that's how we move forward.
But it's also the challenge that I think for people who don't have the choice, you know, when it comes to social justice and racial justice, call that as another arena, right? They live in it every day. They don't have a choice.
Yes.
They are forced to be in that arena.
That's right.
We, through luck, aren't forced to be in that arena. So now,
we're in a very privileged arena.
right? But then, so now that, and I think until recently, I speak for myself, that you're not even aware so much of that luck and of that position.
Yeah.
Now we've been made very aware of it. Now it's on us. What are you going to do? But you made it an interesting turn of phrase at the beginning where you're saying that you have zero space for racism. I thought I was sort of mulling on that. I think that's really interesting. And then you had the realization that, well, wait, it's not just about that. It's about being proactively anti-racist. And I think that's, and then now you're talking about merging the arenas. I think that's going to be the challenge, is to make space, using your metaphor, to be proactive about it. You know, and also not in a phony way, right? Because we're not all social justice advocates. That's not what we're here to make bags, and we're building a brand. It's how can we weave that into it?
That's right.
Right, in an authentic way.
And I think that's what's so amazing about, you know, I don't think, because I've been doing product for so long, like seriously, my whole life, and I don't see how maybe 20 years ago, if merging a product with, you know, social justice could even, you know, you can't, but I think with Instagram and with people, with brands that are so real that you connect with, you know, and then with what you do, like how could you ever think wellness is going to be, you know, you're going to be advocating for social justice, merging these two businesses together.
Our country is not well.
No.
But it's also, that brings us two things that it's been a real eye-opener for us too, because we've come, especially with Irene, I've come from a traditional corporate background before also, where, you know, corporations were these separate entities, and the way that fashion was run and retail was run, they were not human. They were commercial, right? And I think now through the internet, through Instagram, all this, and we found this in our journey, that as consumers, privileged consumers, we're looking for more. We want a more authentic connection with brands. And we want to pierce that veil. We don't want it just to be that perfect photo shoot of that fantasy vision, right?
Just like our life, the world's opening.
Right.
That's fascinating how products can go now beyond. And I think that's what I really believe. Those are the products I really connect with. You know, just a wellness, but then it's you, and if you're sharing your story, that makes me connect so much with what you do, and that, you know, and it makes sense if you're, you know, what you're teaching us and how you're teaching us. That means so much more than just this is a wellness center. That's why we really connected with you, because you're giving your entire self. And I think that's what it is. It's not just this corporate thing. With our products, it's the same thing. It's like, we believe that, you know, these bags that we do, there's a philosophy behind them. And I think it's beyond a bag. So yes, you buy the bag because you connect with it because it's easy, it's elegant, and it works into your lifestyle. However, just knowing the people behind it and like the thought process behind it and what we go through to really share all of us. What did you do before you started your company?
So I've never really thought about it this way. This is my third business. My first one I started after I graduated college, and I was an intern for Parallel. I started as an intern after school, and I ended up doing their PR, and Max Azria bought it. And I noticed my nanny, who raised me from the time I was little, that was getting older and needed some help. And I stopped everything I was doing and took care of her for the last year of her life. And I drove from Bel Air or Beverly Hills or wherever I was to Watts every day for a year. Made sure that she had whatever she needed until she passed. And then I took some time to heal. And I remember I had a boyfriend at the time, and we were going to see Lenny Kravitz in Irvine. And one of my girlfriends, who actually you remind me a lot of, Jennifer, she called me and she's like, don't get mad. I talked to Zach, pack a bag. You're going for 2 days, not one. You're going to meet with someone who I interviewed with. She does corporate gifts. She wants to get into entertainment. It's not the right thing for me. It'll be a blank canvas. You can paint it. And it's time for you to get off your ass and go back to work. And I went, and it was a great opportunity. And it led to me getting into the corporate and celebrity gift world. And I worked for her for about 1.5 years and started it at home and ended up doing pretty well and working with anyone and everyone. And then it was kind of like, okay. And went to the doctor for a girly exam, and he was like, you need to get a test. And they said, if you don't have surgery, you're going to go into pre-cervical ovarian cancer within 2 weeks or a month. So you go and have that surgery. And then I didn't really heal properly, and 18 months of shit. And then I got a diagnosis and more diagnosis and more diagnosis, and took some time to obviously halt the world and take care of myself, because I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. When I started feeling better, I got involved in the lupus community. And in that time, my grandmother was always my best friend. And I moved right before I got sick. I moved to my grandma's apartment complex, which I'm in right now because I live in my grandmother's condo. And I noticed my grandma wasn't feeling well. And I completely took over my grandmother's care. My grandmother, who I thought was going to pass at like 90, lived to be 98 and a half.
You're such a caring person. So that's what I think, that's what you're meant to do. And I think that's what you're meant to do as a human being.
Your lives and your videos are what I find to be amazing. And you're on your own wellness journey. I want to know what that's about and how that started.
So we've always kind of just used Instagram as like a, where we put our product. And then I think what happened for us was, it takes a very personal thing where Matt and I are really good friends with Kate Spade. And it was after she died, I was sort of in a rut. And I wasn't getting dressed. I wasn't doing much. I don't know why, but I got dressed to come to work. And Matt's like, hey, let's shoot your outfit today. And I remember that, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then I think that was what kind of doing that, and then we started doing like 5-minute stories. It got me out of my rut. And I think it was therapeutic, and I think it got me dressed, it got me moving, and I think that's how we started this whole conversation. And then we started getting a bunch of friends from Instagram that we met, and we never shared the story why we started this. And I think that's the place where it came from. And then Matt's father, then a year later, got sick and died from cancer. And then Marissa's brother also died from alcoholism.
You guys,
I think that's the place where it came from. And for us, that's where the wellness journey started, because I think we've never really talked about it.
Well,
but I think having all these tragedies.
I think also, it's the tragedies, and we were always close, but then within those 6 months, all of us were going through grief at the exact same time. It's incredibly deep, and we couldn't help but be vulnerable with each other.
That's right.
We would come in, and kind of what we would have to hide from the rest of the world, we were all going through together.
And then everybody who, we were sharing our stories with, we never shared that, but then they were sharing these, stories about themselves. Everyone's lives are not perfect. You may look so perfect on the outside, but everyone goes through these same things, and it's just so nice to share these, how do we get to wellness? How do we become better people?
I believe no matter what happens, no matter how awful it is, including George Floyd passing, including all the other horrific
Yes.
people passing because of police brutality, whether it's COVID, whether it's me getting sick, whether it's your losses. I believe that there's a gift in everything if we want to see it.
That's a
And I
great
find it,
way to look at it.
Yeah.
And
I find it, I
think,
find it so incredibly interesting that my business or my new lifestyle
yes.
really came from healing from losing my grandmother, and so much of what we're talking right now kind of grew from your collective loss.
That was a quote, and I can't attribute it in the last few days that I've heard that's been inspiring me now, and I think will ongoing. It's like, when you find yourself going through hell, keep going.
What are we trying to shift? And it's like, it's not just about your mind. It's not
Right.
just about your body. It's not just about your soul and your spirit.
Yep.
They all go hand in hand. We're all totally works in progress. It's how you present your mess. If you're honest and you're authentic,
Yeah.
but it's those people that hide it on the inside
Yeah.
and want to be so perfect
Yes.
on the outside. And
And
it's
I
like,
think you hit that on the nail.
That's a very dangerous
There's
position to be in.
no such thing as being perfect. And I think that's what we all have to realize. Perfectionism does not exist. And I think if you strive to be perfect, it doesn't exist, and you're going to be very disappointed.
Don't let me mischaracterize what you're saying, but this is what it made me think. So we all go through grief, you're saying, right? And when you said that, you made me think, and it's irreducible. Like, you are handed this thing, whether you like it or not, like this virus, like what we're dealing with. Like, you can pretend it's not
here.
there, but it's there. Like, I don't care.
It's here.
You can use your
That's right.
fanciest words and logic, whatever, or whatever. It's there.
Yeah.
It's how you're going to deal with it. And it's the same thing with grief. It's the same thing with a lot of the struggles that we come to in life. It's an irreducible thing that you're handed.
Yes.
Now, what are you going to do with it? You have to process it.
That's
Now,
right.
how you're going to process it, that's the art of it.
Well,
right?
and I think that all goes back to vulnerability. You know, it's easier not to process it. It's easier to put it in the
Totally.
container and be like, everything's fine. But it's not. And I think
no,
being
it's
vulnerable
not.
and saying, hey, it's exactly what you just said. I've been sleeping most of my life. But you know what?
Yeah.
Now
I'm awake.
And
And I'm
I'm
conscious.
kind of a, like I'm a work in progress, and I'm going to admit to it.
When I was reading on your site and learning more about you, and there you share your healing time at Four Seasons in Maui, right?
Mm-hmm.
And today you've shared it also. At the time it struck me, I was like, there's a vulnerability there that you would even share that. Because in saying that, you're opening yourself up to a lot of judgment, right? And then we're talking about our little t-shirt and the stuff that we do. And what that made me think was that, yeah, okay, we are privileged. A lot of us are lucky. We've been handed all these things, and we're in this situation. You could go to Maui and be in the Four Seasons. We can be in this little store and make our little t-shirt, right? But the point is, you're dealing with your struggle, your health struggle. We're dealing with how are we going to contribute to social justice. I think with your healing at the Four Seasons, with us coming up with a shirt that's forged together, but it's in our colors and our aesthetic, I will wear that shirt. And then I probably will have conversations that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And in that small incremental way, on the surface, that's a friendly, inviting, happy shirt, but maybe I'll have a conversation with someone about this that I wouldn't have had that conversation before. And in that way, as a trim tab,
Absolutely.
small ways helping to improve the situation. If we weren't having these conversations before, and now we are open to having these conversations, I think that's progress.
I really want to thank you, so
Yes.
much for saying yes, so much for being here. And I truly, this is I shouldn't say it out loud, but I will. It's one of my favorite lives we've done, and I truly just adore you. And thank
really
you,
love
thank
talking
you.
to you. I think we both learned a lot from each other today, and I think it's just a hard time for everyone right now. We're not going to sugarcoat
Yeah.
it. It's tough out there.
No,
And I think
it's
Don't ignore it.
uncomfortable.
don't ignore it.